What up, everybody? Welcome back to Comically Boston, episode 29. This is on Sunday, February 5th, 2023. Pedro Pascal last night had a hilarious bits on Saturday Night Live. Check those out on their Saturday Night Live YouTube channel, or go watch the show every Saturday. But that show last night was hilarious. There's just certain little bits that I thought were hilarious, like where the voice bit. If you guys did watch it, he's sitting there, he's like, "Hello, what do you mean? You're not my wife," you know, like, and he goes to break, and he's like holds it in. He's like, "No, you know," like the next line was just too funny for him. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Celtics. 1-1 this week, if you know what I mean. We beat the Nets on Wednesday, beat them up by a whole bunch. We won 139-96. We improved to 37-15. JT had 31-9. JB had 26. Both were 7 for 12 from 3. They were like, they didn't even play the whole fourth quarter. Like, they had dropped those numbers pretty much in the first. Like, both JB and JT came out the gate shooting hot, and they were like shooting in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock, like getting jumpers up quick and knocking them down, which they don't really do often. So I was really happy to see that. Derek White had 14, 10 assists. Rob Williams had 16, 9. Good to see him playing well. Brogdon had 10. Cornette had 12. Cornette off the bench. He played a couple extra minutes. Sunday, we lost to the Suns, 106-94. We decreased our record to 37-16. JB had 27-8. JT had 20-6. I don't know what was up with us that game. We weren't playing well. Into some other news. JT has his mind set on the right thing. Even after a tough loss, he says, quote, "Still a long way to go, but it's not done until we win a championship." And I believe that was after his performance in the dominant game against the Nets on Wednesday. He said that. But also, the All-Star reserves were announced. And ironically, I didn't see the All-Star reserves for the West. I only saw the East, and maybe that's all I cared about, because my boy Jaylen Brown got named an All-Star. So the reserves for the East are JB, Joel Embiid, Julius Randle, Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan, Tyrese Halliburton, and Bam Adebayo. He's a beast. But JB, very glad to see him make the team. Obviously, JT's a starter. Congrats to the boys. Good to see them. Also, some other news from the NBA that just dropped a couple minutes ago. Kyrie Irving traded. Right, so last year, the Celtics beat the Nets by 50. James Harden requested a trade, went to Philly. This year, we beat the Celtics by a whole bunch of, beat the Nets by a whole bunch of points, and Kyrie requested a trade. A couple of days later, Kyrie's moved before the trade deadline. He is now a Mav. I believe it was Spencer Dinwiddie and maybe a couple other trade picks or some other bench role players. But Kyrie to the Mavs is a huge thing for the Cavs. Huge thing for the East. Get Kyrie out of the East. That makes the Nets team a little bit nicer, I guess. I'm pretty sure Dinwiddie played for the Nets before, so maybe he's coming back. But Kyrie to Texas, I do not see him doing very well in Texas as a person. As a basketball player, I don't know. Him and Luka, and what do they got? Christian Wood at the 5. He's a beast. I hope Kyrie picks his head up and does his thing, but man, that dude just seems problematic. Everything he does is just bad. You know, like everything he touches does not turn to gold. He does not have that Midas touch. A project called Star Wars Visions is announced for season 2. With Cartoon Saloon, Punk Robot. I believe these are all a bunch of really good animation studios. And I watched the first season of Star Wars Visions, and there was a couple episodes that were super badass. That, like, I was left sitting there like, damn, I gotta get myself into more anime, you know? Like, that shit was just dope. And it was like Japanese-inspired anime, but Star Wars, so it was just dope. But it wasn't like, it's not like a continuous story. It's just like little short films. And they're either kind of connected or they're not connected at all. You guys tell me. But I said we were going to talk movies, which we will right now. I watched a whole bunch of movies recently. I watched John Wick 1, 2, and 3, and I won't lie to you guys, I fell asleep at like 12:30, and John Wick was probably leaving HBO Max that night at 3 a.m. and I was like, do I stay up and watch it, or do I just maybe guess that it will be there in the morning? And I woke up in the morning and it wasn't there. So John Wick's got taken off, and I saw half of John Wick 3, so don't yell at me. I will see it somehow, some way, before John Wick 4 comes out. But John Wick 1 and 2 I really liked. It's just a lot of Keanu Reeves and a lot of fighting and a lot of action, and definitely a man movie. But ironically, my mother told me to watch that movie, and she watched all 3 in one day. She said she loved them. She was like, oh yeah, it's badass. But the funniest thing I thought about John Wick 3 was that Halle Berry was in it. Badass Halle Berry. She looked sexy as hell. And the guy Bronn from Game of Thrones, I love seeing that guy. Bronn, the character, was by far my favorite character from Game of Thrones. He's so funny and everything. He's such a badass. But that actor is definitely the reason why I loved him. And he's in Halle Berry. He's in the movie with Halle Berry. I don't believe he's with her, but he's in the 3rd movie, and he's hilarious. I also watched Everything Everywhere All at Once recently. That movie is some trippy shit. But like, imagine Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and it's a multiverse story, but it's just for people like me and you. Like, it ain't no superhero shit. Like, when Doctor Strange goes in the multiverse, I'm like, yeah, okay, he's a wizard with magical superpowers. Like, okay, you know, like, there's a suspension of disbelief. But when a random Asian family starts doing multiverse shit, it's like, wait a second, why do I understand? Like, it was so crazy jumping around, but why does you understand it so perfectly and you follow what they're saying? You're like, okay, yeah, you know, it's all because of your decisions. Like, today, in a different multiverse, there's another Cam that chose to sit on his ass and not make a podcast today. But this Cam chose to make a podcast and talk about everything everywhere all at once. Like, that's crazy that a different multiverse that easy. Like, just quick, hey, you made this decision to go left instead of right. That one Cam in one lifetime took a right, and that's a multiverse. Another Cam went straight, another Cam went left. You know, like that multiverse. Crazy to think about. If you haven't seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, I highly recommend you check it out. It is one of the craziest films I've ever seen, and it all has to do with the multiverse and shit like that, but it is really a story about this Asian family, and it is a beautiful story, and it's funny, and Jamie Lee Curtis is badass, and Michelle Yeoh is a legend, and Ki Hu Kwan from Indiana Jones Short Round, he's a stud. He plays Alpha Waymond, he plays Waymond, he plays the Waymond in the universe with the tuxedo, smoking a cigarette. Ooh, he looks so good in the suit. Good for him. I hope they win a bunch of awards, and I can see why this movie is winning a bunch of awards. I wanted to see that one because everyone was saying it was great, and it's winning a bunch of awards. And now All Quiet on the Western Front is a movie out on Netflix. It's a war movie, and it's nominated for a bunch of things as well. And it's a good story, and it's crazy more so visuals. Like, I would see it winning maybe like cinematography or something like that. But like the story itself kind of just leads you to a point, and then it's just over, and you're like, damn, this is heavy shit. Like, we just witnessed some gory, heavy violence, but it's like probably accurate depiction, and sad, and it's just heavy, but it's just a war story. Like, if you're into war films and stories, this is for you. But if you're just trying to watch a movie, I don't know. All I'm saying is I hope it doesn't win all the Oscars and all the awards there, because it didn't just push me over the edge like, this movie's amazing. If it wins for anything, like I said, it should win for like cinematography and shit like that. Because the script was probably 50 pages long. There was a lot of silence, a lot of dragged out scenes where you're just visually seeing things, you know, so things like that I don't think should win the Oscar, where things like Everything Everywhere All at Once is this crazy once-in-a-lifetime film. Things like Top Gun Maverick was amazing this year. Things like Avatar The Way of Water, amazing film. You know, like, things that just blow your mind, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, this is happening? What? Like, I meant to watch the movie Tar That's also nominated for a bunch of things. Maybe I'll watch that today. Comment below. Have you seen the movie Tar? What do you think? Have you been thinking about watching it yourself? Comment below. I watched Wakanda Forever recently. I rewatched it, I should say. That movie is very, very touching, and it is so good. But it is just, you know, hard, so hard to watch that movie and not just feel so, like, touched by the loss of Chadwick Boseman. You know, like, it weighs heavy on your heart during that movie. You're like, oh, Chad's not here. He could be here kicking ass, but he's not. Oh. God, love Chadwick Boseman. And Wakanda Forever. That was beautiful. I watched You People. That movie with Eddie Murphy was really funny to see him back in action. But it also told a far better story. Like, it ended very sweet. And I was like, oh, this is, yeah, they wrapped it up and they made it a story. It wasn't just a movie that they made 100% for the jokes, you know? But, man, Eddie Murphy, when he's trying to get Jonah Hill to say N-words in Paris. He's like, they're people and they're in Paris. There's a group of them and they're in Paris and they don't look like you. Who are they? He's like, I don't know. They're in Paris? I don't know. And he goes, you just said you love this song. And he goes, but who's in Paris? I forget. You know, he's just, there was certain parts that had me dying, and then there were certain parts that I was just like, this is awkward as shit. They're just talking Muslim and this is crazy. Julia Louis-Dreyfus has played that role so perfectly. Like, every racist white mom I've ever met in my entire life, and there's a lot of them. They're like, what? I'm Jewish. I donated cookies to the bake sale. And they're like, that has nothing to do if you're racist. They're like, but they always have something. Oh God, they're always offended by something. They're like, I didn't do that. And never their fault. They're always, oh, pussies. They're a bunch of faggots. White women, problem. Comment below. Do you agree? Moving on. I watched another movie last night called Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Maybe I'll do a Star Wars rewatch. I'll start those movies and start binging on through them. But I really like Star Wars 1. Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi as a young man, Darth Maul. Stud. That movie's good. But yeah, the pod racing scene in that is badass, I gotta say. Just one more thing we'll talk about, because I'm super excited. I've been thinking about it all day. Episode 4 of The Last of Us airs tonight. Let's go. It will be directed by James Webb. It will star Melanie Linsky playing a new character, Kathleen, which isn't from the games. Jeffrey Pierce, a new character, playing Perry. And they will, instead being from Pittsburgh, they'll be from Kansas City. So this episode is also going to diverge from the game quite a bit. And I've been seeing a lot of discourse online on Twitter, people real mad and real upset that they did that whole gay route, and there was people review bombing on IMDb, giving them 1 stars, and I'm like, listen, all these homophobes in America that can't watch a beautiful story about a gay, like, I'm a straight white man, I do not agree with the gayness, like, I am not gay, I'm not into it, but that was a beautiful story, and who cares, you know, like, you should be able to see some gay shit and not be like, oh, my eyes, power of Christ compelled me. Like, fuck you, you fucking racist. Not even racist, just fucking hateful energy. Like, that's so stupid. Let people do what, like, it has nothing to do with me if somebody's gay. Like, do what you want to do. The second you put your gay shit on me and try and hit on me, I'll be flattered, because why not? Like, gay compliments are the best compliments. Every time I go to jiu-jitsu, I see Lewis, he's like, oh, look at that snack. And I'm like, I feel good today. But I don't walk over and give Lewis a fucking kiss on the face. No, I give him a hug. Like a straight person. But you get my point. Like, you don't need to be hateful online review bombing the show because 2 gay characters had a beautiful story. Like, forget if they're gay. The story that was told between those 2 characters was beautiful. And people were like, why couldn't they just do what the game did? So what? You want them to do a shot-by-shot remake of the game? At that point, just play the game. It's the same thing. That's like the comic books. Like, you want them to do a page for page what they did? Like, no, you can't. Then it would just be the comic book. You have to do inspired by and do your own thing. And the game is a game. Like, the parts that make the game so compelling and engaging is because you're playing the characters and you feel the pressure to get away from the zombies and do what you're doing and move and keep moving and not stay in one place or you're gonna get attacked. Like, you know, like, you're the characters. In this, you're watching the characters. It's a different format. It's entirely different. So to see them go through hunting and just killing everything might be like, damn, they're just wiping out infected, where the story is them surviving, right? Like, they're gonna encounter infected along the way, but should they just be wiping out people left and right, you know, like how you do in the game? Like, you're killing soldiers, you're killing infected, you're killing non-infected, you're killing hunters, you're killing people in the game. Like, granted, they should show that in the show, and I think they will. I think this episode is going to get more back into like the action side of the game, where like the last episode was like, hey, you thought we were going to do the Bill and Frank story, you were going to go get a battery, go get a fucking car, and then you'd find Frank hanging in the room. No. We're going to see Frank. We're going to experience Frank. We're going to experience what Bill experienced with Frank, and we're going to change the character of Bill, and we're going to give Bill a complete arc, and then put Ellie and Joel on their way. You know, like, that was its own story. That last episode was an 80-minute short movie. Like, that's a movie. You could put that thing out at Sundance. I guarantee you're winning some awards. But, man, episode 4 tonight, and this guy playing Perry, I just gotta say, this guy looks like somebody I don't want to fuck with. But somebody also I want to look like when I grow older. You know, he's got just the grizzled, nice tan arms, got kind of tan face, but he's got the white, woolly beard with the long hair. Honestly, side by side, me and him, I might be heading that direction if I get me some salt and pepper. But I'm only 24. I just turned that the other day. I don't know. Thank you. You guys, a lot of you said happy birthday. I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate every one of you that are watching these videos. I'm not putting a tremendous amount of effort into them, but I try, and I'm just trying to share my thoughts and my opinions on things with people and create a community where people like the things I'm into and I can like things that people are into, and we can go back and forth and not agree on things. We can agree on things, you know, like, I'm here for y'all. I'm a man of the people. If you guys need me, DM me at Big Cam on YouTube, on Twitter, and at Big Cam 12 on Instagram. Links down in the description below. Comment below what you guys thinking of SNL. What'd you think of those movies I said today? Did you watch any of those? What'd you think? Are you a Star Wars guy like me? Were you in Boston over this weekend seeing that -degree weather? That shit was miserable. I hope all y'all stayed safe, stayed warm, stayed blessed up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. We'll be talking about The Last of Us tomorrow morning. Stay tuned, y'all. I hope you guys have been watching the show and getting into it, because it's a lot of fun and it's a good show and it's been very entertaining, and a lot of people are saying it is HBO Max's magnum opus. So if you haven't seen it, get into it, and if you want to talk to me more, DM me, at me, do your thing. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.